During that maternity leave, I knew I just didn't want to go back to midwifery and I want to spend time with my kids. During my pregnancy, I was searching away, what can I do? Came across aesthetics and thought, oh yeah, okay, that looks a bit interesting.
Meet Beth Drew, a successful aesthetic practitioner who left her high-pressure job in the NHS to work completely for herself. Beth sadly lost her dad as a teenager.
When I was 14, I lost my dad to alcoholism.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, really tough.
Was told that she's not smart enough to achieve her dreams.
Our head of sixth form, and he said that he didn't think I was clever enough to be a midwife.
Wow. And then spent years working long shifts in the NHS feeling stuck. Beth didn't allow her circumstances to hold her back. She took a risk, left her career and turned her passion for aesthetics into a thriving business that has now changed her life.
I feel like I'm a completely different person. There's no outside noise, there's no external expectations. I'm just in my bubble, doing my thing, being me, and that's really freeing.
In this episode, she is sharing everything. She shares her struggles, her journey, her wins, and key moments that changed everything for her. If you're ready to be inspired and learn how she made it all happen, you need to tune into this.
Tell me about how you started to build your client base then.
So
Beth Drew.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Pleasure. This has been a long time coming, Beth. I've watched your aesthetics journey evolve over the last few years and you have become a powerhouse. And I'm very proud of how far you've come in your business and what your business is all about now, how far you've taken things and how far you're taking things as well. So it makes sense to have you here to share your story. Share the highs, share the lows, share the in-betweens with the audience.
Lots of them.
I think we should get into it. So, Beth, you were originally a midwife. So let's go into that, shall we? What was it that made you want to be a midwife?
So I'd always known that I wanted to work in a hospital. So whether that was a doctor, a nurse, a midwife, but probably got to about the age of 14 and liked going out with my friends too much and didn't want to apply myself. And just thought, being a doctor's a full-on way of life, isn't it? And I just didn't want to go down that road. So got to sixth form at the point where you've got to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, right. And you're like 16, 17 years old. What do you want to do forever?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
And it was a toss-up between primary school education or midwifery. So I'd always been obsessed with babies, carried a baby around with me when I was younger. And funnily enough, my baby that I used to carry around was called Baby Jack. And my husband is called Jack.
What? And he's like a baby.
And I became a midwife. Yeah, it's baby. A big baby. So it all just links, doesn't it? But so it was between midwifery and primary education. My head was saying primary education because it's better for when you have a family, you get all the holidays, not so much unsociable hours. But my heart was saying midwifery. So we had to have meetings with our head of sixth form to discuss what we were going to apply to do at uni. And I told him my predicament and he said that he didn't think I was clever enough to be a midwife.
Wow.
I know. So, but I showed him, didn't I?
You showed him and then some.
And then some.
How did you feel though in that moment?
Deflated, but it kind of lit a fire underneath me. Because I just thought, who are you to say that to me? Like, you have no idea really who I am. We'd never spent any time together. He's obviously just looked at my predicted grades, which are a load of bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
So, I just thought, well, that's made me want to do it even more.
Oh, wow. So rather than you letting that put you back and think, oh, maybe I'm not good, because it's such a young, vulnerable age.
Yeah.
What a stupid thing for a teacher, someone whose responsibility is empowering and teaching. Yeah. What a stupid thing for them to say to a student.
Yeah. And like
you're
15
not clever
years
enough.
on, I still remember that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it makes an impact.
Yeah, I was told by teachers I would never go anywhere.
Lol.
So rather than you let it put you back, you decided, do you know what? I am going to do it and I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How did then you progress into becoming a midwife? How long was the course? What kind of commitments did you have to have?
Yeah, it was really intense. So it's changed a little bit now, but back when I did it, it was NHS funded. So there were very limited spaces on the course all around the country. So I applied the first time and got an interview for my local uni, which was Worcester, and for Liverpool. So a funny story about the Liverpool interview. So I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, took the train up on my own, and I was only like 19, 20. Got there, got a taxi, asked them to take me to the postcode. He drops me off, I get out and I'm like, this doesn't look like it. So I asked this lovely lady, I'm looking for this place, do you know where it is? And she was like, yeah, up there, past the traffic lights, carry on going. And I was like, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. So I legged up this hill, walked in breathless. Everyone was already sat down doing their maths exam. So I just walked in. I was like, I'm so sorry I'm late. She was like, it's fine, sit down. Had to do this maths exam. You had to get 15 out of 15 to even get your interview. And I got 13 out of 15. So I didn't even get my interview. But to sort of show how
invested you were.
Not invested,
Committed.
but how competitive it is.
Okay.
So for Liverpool, there was 1,800 applicants. They only invited 180 people for interview. So I was in that 10%.
10%, yeah.
And they only had 18 places on the course. So 1% of applicants get in, yeah. So first year, I didn't get in. So I thought, fine, I want to party a bit anyway.
Yeah.
I'm only 19.
Yeah.
So did a little bit of travelling, did a lot of partying, and then applied again. And yeah, got in second time round to my local uni, which I'm really grateful for because I was with my boyfriend for a long time at that point. So I didn't really want to go too far away. So yeah, it all worked out for the best.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then I started at about age 20.
Right. So how long does it take to qualify to become a midwife, and what kind of commitments do you have to make?
So 3 years.
Okay.
It's a huge commitment. Yeah, it's grueling. It's really intense. I always say to people now that, maybe not now because my career path has changed, but if you said to me to be able to still be a midwife tomorrow, you've got to do that 3 years again, I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it.
No, it was so hard. So you have to do 37, so full-time placement hours at the hospital. So they're 12-hour shifts, days or nights. On top of that, you've got all your dissertations, your essays to write. On top of that, I had 15-hour-a-week part-time job to pay for my rent. So when do you sleep?
Yeah. And when do you party?
Yeah, well, you don't.
No
and
time
that's
for
the
hangovers
thing.
anymore.
No, it's not your usual uni experience at all. So I think the fact that I did all of that partying before and kind of let my hair down then meant I could really apply myself. And actually, I think the girls going straight from sixth form or college into that, it's like, just live your life first because you're going to have to sacrifice so much.
Yeah, and you also don't really get paid either, do you, for all your placement hours?
No.
I don't get how people do it. My best friend Amber, she's actually a midwife. She's been a midwife since forever, it feels like. And she had to make some big commitments. And I know that from watching her do it. I think people underestimate what midwives have to bloody do.
Yeah, and I look at students now and some of them have got kids. Like there might be student midwives who are 40 with 3 kids. And I just think, how are you doing that? I could barely look after myself when I was doing my training. So yeah, hats off to them.
Yeah. So 3 years later, you qualify. You are now a midwife.
Yes.
And now you get to be more responsible, which I know it's very scary, isn't it? From conversations I've had with my best friend, there's some real lows in midwifery, isn't there?
Of course.
I imagine there's a
It's
lot of highs. Yeah, it is an emotional roller coaster. I just say to her, the best thing I can see about your job is that you get so much annual leave.
Yeah.
She's on like a shitload of annual leave every year, and I'm like, because other than that, babe, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, no, there is highs and there's definitely lows. How would you deal with the lows?
How would I deal with the lows? I think, so I worked at Hereford Hospital, which was at the time about a 50-minute drive from my house. So after a shift, if it had been really challenging, I would spend that 50 minutes on the drive home, sometimes with no music on or anything, just thinking it through and digesting it and picking it apart. And then I really made a conscious effort of when I got to my house and I stepped out, locked the car.
That was where you left
That was it, yeah.
Okay.
And you know, that was my intention, and it's not always easy to do that because some of the lows are, you know, you're with parents during some of the hardest times of their life, and those images will never leave you. And I still think about those parents this day. And then I think when you go on to have your own children, that adds another layer to it.
Yeah, just more fear unlocked. Like, we need any more of that as parents.
And empathy as well. I think, you know, before kids, like, because I qualified before I had my children, you know, when parents are going through a really difficult time, you really sort of sympathise with them. But when you've had your own children, that level of empathy is just much more emotional because you can't help but think about your kids.
And how that would affect you if it was you in that situation.
Absolutely.
I imagine it's scary. So at what point then did you think to yourself, I want to go into aesthetics? How did that unfold?
Yeah, so it's a long story.
We've got time.
Yeah. As we know, the NHS is struggling really hard, really bad. And that's due to funding no staff, and it's just the job, even from 10 years ago when I trained, is just completely changed. It's unrecognisable, really. Before, you would have quiet shifts, you'd have that camaraderie with your team, you'd have, a couple of bursts in a night shift, but it was manageable. Now you never have a quiet shift. You sometimes don't even get a break in your 12.5-hour shift. You go from one birth to the next. And yeah, emotionally and physically, that is a lot to handle. And night shifts and day shifts, your sleep patterns all over the place. And I think over time, that just begins to really take its toll. And then I had my first baby, Cooper, who's now 5. And following his birth, I suffered quite bad with postnatal anxiety and depression. So during my 9 months of maternity leave with him, I just threw myself into self-help, yoga, meditation, breath work. That was really where my spirituality started, because, it was a really low place. Got myself into a bit of a good place. 9 months passed, my maternity leave was over, and it was time to go back to work. But it was COVID.
Oh, no.
So I was already struggling with my mental health, but I was all right. Went back to work, and it was like masks, gloves, fear, distancing. I remember in theatre we had to wear, it was like a straitjacket with like a bobble helmet over the top with a generator on your side and air going into it, because if that person had COVID and they had to be intubated during a C-section for any reason, then that could put you at risk of getting COVID. That's how serious it was at the beginning when we didn't really know much about it.
Yeah.
So it was just intense. So the job that I knew and was already nervous about going back to, because I hadn't practiced for 9 months, was then a totally different job. So that pressure was just huge.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah. And like even just the pressure of COVID. So after a shift, I'd get home, text my husband to say that I was here. He would open the front door. I would take everything off, put it in a box by the front door. He would then walk me to the shower, turn the shower on so I didn't have to touch anything, wash, put the clothes in the washing machine, and then be like, okay, hi, I'm here now. How's your day?
What a way to live, though,
Yeah,
Beth.
I know.
And because you was all, I have so much deep respect for anybody that worked in, especially the NHS, hospitals, care homes, all those things during COVID, because I was petrified in my house with the fucking door locked. I wasn't openly vulnerable to it like you guys were. And then, like you say, you was already suffering a little bit anyway with your, your postnatal depression and anxiety, and you was trying to help yourself. And then to go from this almost little baby bubble with a bit of fear into this humongous, fearful, hats off to you for that. That must have been horrific.
It was, yeah. And I think the fear was bringing it home to my baby as well, because we didn't know how it affected kids at that point. And I'll never forget, when everyone used to stand on their doorsteps and clap.
Yeah.
So the first time that happened, we were stood on the doorstep and my whole street was on their doorsteps, banging pans and clapping. And I don't think any of them even knew I was a midwife. And I just sobbed my heart out, because I was like, okay, it is only just a clap, but
it's recognition.
It's recognition, yeah. And a pay rise would have been nice, but...
Oh, don't even go there.
Do you know what we got from our trust? So to say thank you a couple of years later down the line, we got a badge that said thank you. That was it.
It's horrific, isn't it? and then there's this whole debate on why people are leaving the NHS.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a clue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clues, to be totally honest.
Yeah. And then there's another aspect as well, which is getting quite vulnerable. But with my postnatal anxiety and depression, so I went through quite a bit of therapy to help with that. And one of the things that we discovered was that, so unfortunately when I was 14, I lost my dad to alcoholism.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, really tough. It's been a long time now. I've done a lot of therapy and come to terms with it. But part of the therapy was that we discovered that a lot of children from alcoholic parents go into caring professions. Wow. And it's all part of trying to, part of the trauma, and save people. Yeah. So when we had that epiphany, it was huge actually, because I realised that the shifts when I couldn't give the care that I really wanted to give was actually hurting my inner child much more than I realised. So it was such a deeper psychological situation than it just being a hard job. Yeah. And I didn't know that until I'd been through that. But yeah, when I realised that, I was like, this can't be part of my story anymore. that has to change.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did.
So what was it about us? I could go into this deeper and deeper, but also I'm going to start crying. I already feel emotion.
cry.
So I'm like, you was 14, you was just a baby.
I know, I've lived a life.
Yeah, right. Bloody hell. So what was it specifically about aesthetics then that made you think, oh, that looks a little bit of me?
Yeah, so I had my second baby, Woody, who's now 2. And during that maternity leave, even during my pregnancy, actually, I knew I just didn't want to go back to midwifery.
Too much.
Yeah. And I want to spend time with my kids. And if I do have to go back, then it would be on heavily reduced hours. So during my pregnancy, I was searching away, what can I do? What can I use my skills for? Because this is all I've known. This is all I've trained to do. Came across aesthetics and thought, oh, yeah, okay, that looks a bit interesting. Delved into it more. A lot of needle work. So one of the things I loved about midwifery was the cannulation, the suturing, the really nitty-gritty stuff. So this was kind of doing that.
In alignment with it, wasn't it? It was,
Yeah. So I thought, okay, that looks interesting. Mould it over for a little bit. I'd never had any aesthetics treatments myself at that point. So then my son was born and I was like, right, yeah, I'm just going to do it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So at 3 months old, when Woody was 3 months old, I did my training and just fell in love with it. From that very first training session, I just thought, yeah, I don't know, I just loved this.
I could do this forever.
Yeah.
Well, I can see why, because you've gone from such a high-pressured, high-responsibility role to something that is very, very high responsibility. It is still, but I don't think it's as pressuring as what you've been through.
No. I remember during that training, there were a lot of other nurses, paramedics, because it was with a company who trains medics. A lot of those nurses were really nervous and a bit shaky with their work and wasn't sure whether it was for them. And I remember kind of thinking at the time, like, this sounds quite big-headed, but this is nothing. Like, this is nothing. If I can stitch a perineum back together, I can inject some filler into someone's lips.
I don't know what perineum is, but I'm assuming it's a vagina.
Well, yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think for you to have been through what you went through at kind of like such an intense level, to walk into that would have been a walk in the park. Those people who was there and was a bit nervous and shaky might not have had those extreme experiences like what you had had. Yeah. So you kind of just got there and thought, this is it. I feel confident. I like it. I'm excited about it. It interests me. Yeah. Just before we move on into how your journey evolved in aesthetics, I just want to circle back a little bit because you said something that I find really interesting. You said that after your first son was born, you experienced postnatal depression, and on your maternity, you said, I used that time to do meditation, grounding, breath work, self-help.
Yeah.
What was it that encouraged you to go on to a journey of self-help? Because some people may have just experienced those things and become a victim to them and thought, well, this is just how my life is. I just have anxiety. I just feel like this. What was it that made you actually take action and seek to help yourself in that situation?
Yeah. I think I had underlying anxiety for quite a long time, I think, following everything that happened as a teenager. And I had felt like that for a long time. This is just me. I'm just an anxious person. And I think the catalyst was my son being born because, yes, my mental health declined, but I had a reason now to sort that out. Okay. Also, I was already sort of dabbling in a bit of yoga before that to try and help with my anxiety. So I just really hit it with the yoga big time and the meditation. And I think the more that you do those things, the more that you realise that you are more than just a human being. And I know that sounds really woo-woo. I think when you connect to yourself on such a spiritual level, you get a bit addicted to that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because the more you discover, the more you want to know. So I think that was it really. I just, developed my spirituality and got a bit hooked on that. I wanted to find out more.
So you kind of thought, listen, I've got to be the best I can be because I have a son now.
Yeah.
And that kind of pushed you into doing more of these things. But then actually when you got into them, you thought, this is relieving. I like this feeling. I like knowing that it's not just me. I'm not alone. There's more to this than what meets the eye kind of thing. And then you continued your path from there.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. I think it's important to highlight that because some people may be feeling those feelings that you're feeling now, but not know what to do.
Yeah.
So go try some yoga, go try some grounding, some breath work, go on your own little journey of trying to connect with yourself. I think it's an important message. So I didn't want to skip over that.
That's right.
So let's go into the story behind founding Drew Aesthetics. So
Yes.
you're obviously called Beth Drew, so
Yes.
we know where the name comes from.
Some people call me Drew though. And
Yeah,
I'm like, it's
do
fine.
they?
Yeah.
You look like a Drew and a Beth, so it works. That's Drew Barrymore. It's a word,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's a name. So what was the vision that you had when starting the clinic? So you've done your training. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a bit of me. I like this.
Yeah.
Where did your vision kind of start?
So I think for me, it was taking it one step at a time. So obviously I had a 3-month-old baby. So I was, breastfeeding him with one hand, on my phone, registering with HMRC.
And you had a toddler too, didn't you, as
Yeah.
well?
Finding somewhere to work from, really just finding my feet with it all. So the vision was really quite straightforward. I just wanted to be to have at least 2 clients a week by the time I went back to work.
Okay.
This was my goal.
And why was that?
Because if I had at least 2 clients a week, it meant that I could go back on heavily reduced hours. So I just wanted to do 1 shift a week.
Got
so
it.
the 2 clients a week with aesthetics would boost my income to allow me to do that. So that was my goal. Absolutely smashed that in a couple of months.
Literally.
So luckily, by the time my maternity leave was over, I was almost ready to actually hand my notice in. But I just thought, just go
Keep
steady.
it going. Yeah, a lot of people
keep
do
your feet
that.
on the
yeah.
ground. So yeah, I didn't quite hand my notice in until about 4 months after I returned to work, and looked at the figures, spoke to my husband about it, and I was like, look, I'm earning the same amount, if not more. So I want to hand my notice in. His limiting beliefs creep up then.
Oh,
because
no,
it's
yeah.
fear,
And it's normal, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you've been doing the work, you really want to have someone that's like on that page with you, but they're
Yeah.
not always on the page with you. So
Yeah.
what kind of fears did he have?
Well, I just think men tend to think a lot logically.
Yes.
A lot more logically. We women, this is a huge generalisation, but we think with our emotions quite a lot.
I agree.
So he grounds me a lot of the time. He brings me back down. But he was just saying, you've worked hard for this. Are you sure that's what you want to do? Running your own business, your income's not guaranteed. But I was just like, well, this is the facts and I've had enough. So he supported me and was like, fine. Handed my notice in, and yeah, my heart was beating out of my chest.
I remember
for
doing the
sure.
same. Oh, I
Yeah.
was so scared. I was so scared.
But it felt like the right thing to do. So then at that point, that's when the vision for what I wanted your aesthetics to become really started, because before then I was just focusing on getting out of the NHS. So at that point I was renting a little pod, I call it, because it was just a space in someone else's salon, but it wasn't a room, it just had a shower curtain across it.
I love that. We all start somewhere
Yeah,
though.
for £400 a month it was as well. And I had made it as nice as I could. I'm quite minimalist with my style, so I'd kind of put that edge on my little pod. But I always felt like it wasn't my vision, and it wasn't what I wanted, and I had bigger dreams. I wanted my own place, really. Then luckily, the landlady, who was also the salon owner, she sent me a message and said, look, it's not working out with the rent of this place. I'm going to have to give it up. You can take it over if you want. It was about £1,400 a month to take this place on, and I wasn't ready to take on that. But she also had another place that she had on her books that she wanted someone to take over, which was £600 a month. It was 2 rooms, and she said, this is available and you can have that if you want. Went to have a look at it. Perfect.
Okay.
And that's what I've got now. So it's funny, isn't it, how the universe aligns everything for you to reach what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Isn't that an amazing story? So how did you, I suppose as well, I just want to touch on this. Was there a part of you that thought, look, if this doesn't work out, I'm always going to be able to go and work back in the NHS again? Because I was the same when I left my sales job. I was good at sales, and I thought to myself, if this doesn't work out, I'm employable.
Yeah.
I can go and get another job in sales. And did you feel the same with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if I didn't want to go back to doing the shift work in the hospital, the degree, the midwifery degree and the transferable skills, I could have gone into so many different things. So it was never a worry that I would be unemployed and skint.
Well, I think people worry about that, but I think what everybody needs to recognise is when they get to that point and they're ready to take that leap. So many people stand on the edge of the cliff for a long time. Sat worrying, what if I jump? What if I fall? They spend that fucking long there. Sometimes I just want to kick them and get off and off you go, do it. Because they focus on what if it goes wrong. And I always think sometimes the best thing to do sit with that. What if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out? What's going to happen? Do I die? No. Does anybody around me die? No. Can I get another job? Yes. Can I get that exact job that I had before? Maybe not, but can I get a job?
Yeah.
Am I employable? And most of the time, the answer is everything will be fine because there's always a way. But people are so fearful of taking the leap. And I get it. I really get it. And there's some more behind that. I don't think people should just go, I want to quit my job. I want to go full time into my business, but I've got no savings and I can't pay my mortgage this month. And, I've got kids that I need to I don't think that's a wise idea because of the instant pressure that's on them from the get-go. But when you are like at your stage, I'm earning just about as much money, if not more, now than what I would be if I was going full time. I've actually even had people come to me and say, all I wanted to do was get to the point where I was earning the same in my business as what I was in my full-time job, and then I could leave. Yeah. And they'll say, but now I'm there. But now I'm earning all this money and I don't want... I'm like, for God's sake, make your mind up, girl.
Just leave.
Just leave. Just leave. And then you can use that time to make even more money.
Exactly.
So, but I think it's important to kind of just like touch on that because people are so scared to take that leap. And I get it. And I think we have to take a logical leap.
Yeah.
But the leap does need to be made. And I remember my life coach, Sandra, we was having a session about something and I was worried about taking a leap somewhere and I have therapy with her often and it helps. And I said, like, well, what if I fall? She said, and what if you soar?
Yeah.
What if you take that leap off that cliff and you soar?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I always saw.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I always saw.
You can think about what's the worst that can happen, but also what's the best that could happen.
Yeah. Why are we focusing on that? It's just, it's normal. It's how we're conditioned as well. And this is why
your brain wants to keep you safe.
It does. It does. And that's why when you went to your partner, he might have been like, oh, well, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
And it's normal because we've been conditioned to that. But yeah, sometimes we just do it anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about how you started to build your client base then, because this is a challenge for a lot of people in the early days. How did you find that? Was it challenging? Did you find it easy? How did that work for you?
So I was very lucky that I found you very early on in my journey. So I remember just going back to my maternity leave, taking really long walks, listening to podcasts, trying to find the secret ingredient to get successful and get clients, and just trudging my way through all of this stuff. And I even searched on Spotify how to get new clients, and your podcast came up.
Wow, love the algorithm for me.
Yeah. So I listened to one of your podcast episodes, and then you had your advertisement for just £10 a month.
Yes,
at that time.
It was trial it for 30 quid. 30 days, sorry, for a tenner. It's not available anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too good now.
Too much growth since then. And I just thought, it's a tenner. Like, even if I sign up and it's not for me, it's just a tenner.
Yeah.
It's like 2 coffees, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, signed up instantly, was just like, this is a bit of me, especially all the spirituality stuff and the personal growth stuff. That's what hooked me in.
It was really aligned with you then, wasn't it? Because you was already there.
So, yeah. I really just hit the ground running with the training, to be honest. I just listened to everything, worked through everything. I was lucky I had my maternity leave, so I had this time to do it. Obviously looking after 2 children at the same time, but you can make time.
Yeah, you can figure it out somewhere.
Yeah. Just really took action on what you were saying. So I think for me, some of the biggest tips for helping to get clients was the DM method.
Yeah.
Huge.
I get mixed reviews on that still, but I think it's more fear from people like, I don't want to put myself out. I'm like, just fucking put yourself out there. It does work.
Once you've sent 50, you don't care anymore.
You don't care anymore, do you? It does work though, but I think you've got to follow the strategy. The strategy, the script that we give, the collage and all that kind of stuff, like it does work. For anybody wondering, what the hell is the DM method? There was a podcast episode that I recorded with Gemma and she got 92 clients in 6 weeks. So if you want to delve it deeper into that, do that, or just become a member and watch the training. Yeah. That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
So the DM method really worked for you then?
The DM method really worked, yeah. Word of mouth, I think, that's always a massive one. In my town, so in Malvern, where my clinic is, there were a few aesthetics practitioners, but it was more like people coming into salons once a month. There wasn't really a clinic there. So I think that helped me because I had a lot of clients coming to me who were going to our nearest city or even beyond to Birmingham to have their aesthetics treatments. And they would always say, oh, I'm so glad there's someone in Malvern now. Yeah. So that really helped. Then I think client experience is huge. So I'm quite a warm, personable person anyway, but I just make them all feel like my friends. There's nothing to feel scared of. We have a chat, we overshare. Some of my clients tell me the deepest things about their lives. And I love that. And I tell them deep things about my life too. And they become friends, don't they? So I think it's just building those relationships, and then they will recommend you to their friends because they felt so comfortable with you. And yeah, it is a little bit of organic growth, but with things like the DM method, posting on local Facebook groups, because that's your ideal client because they're local to you. It just gives it a little bit more of a push.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. And I think another thing that I want to really emphasise here is the fact that you take action.
Yes.
You do not sit on your ass.
Nope.
You do not just watch the training and go, oh yeah, well, I'll do that a couple of times today. And you was like you said, I watched it, I took action.
Yeah.
Even with 2 young children.
Yeah.
Even with the fact that you've left your job, and you're going at this a little bit nervy and a little bit scared, like you took so much action, Beth. And what I love about you and your brand is your authenticity. Because you are you, and I can totally see why people come to you. I can see why people come back to you. I can see why people trust you, and I can see why your business took off the way it did. And organic growth was such a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because you were you, and people are scared to be them.
Yeah.
Was there ever times where you thought, do I need to be a certain way? Do I need to act a certain way? Or was you quite open with just being you?
I think when it comes to creating content, when I look back at my content from when I first started, I felt like I had to be really polished, really professional. And actually, I think people just resonate with just being you. So be vulnerable, show your honesty. I don't really know how to be anyone else but me. And that's like the honest answer. I think, I just be yourself, and those that vibe, and those that don't. And they're just not your people, and that's fine. You don't have to be liked by everybody. You're not going to be liked by everybody.
Do you think the spirituality side of things had a positive impact on your business growth as well?
100%.
Yeah. Tell me why you think that is.
I think when you're connected with your spirituality and to the universe, you realise that actually opportunities are abundant, money is abundant, clients are abundant. It's there for the taking, and it's just up to you to take that action. And I just think, the universe has your back, and you just need to keep on that high vibe, and you will attract more of that. As you know, law of attraction is massive. And I just think, practicing the law of attraction, keeping high vibe, and you will attract more of what you want.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I always made it such a big part of the Beauty Growth Academy. Like I always say, I'm very different because I don't just teach business growth. I teach personal growth and spiritual growth as well, because actually, in my opinion, the spiritual growth and the personal growth has the biggest impact on your business.
Yeah.
The business growth, it's important, strategy, DM method, all those things, but without the confidence in yourself and without the connection, I can teach you strategies, but if you're full of self-doubt and you're full of low vibrations and you're full of self-pity or victimality, whatever the fucking word is, if you're full of all that stuff, no strategy is going to work.
No.
So I think that it was and it's no coincidence that you came into this already on your journey, and for you, it kind of went straight up. It pivoted.
It did.
It didn't kind of go slow or gradual. Anything I see you put your mind to now, we're going to get into different things that you do. Everything you do, you just smash it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And there's no coincidence behind the fact that you are big into your self-growth and your spirituality, and you're committed to your business and you take action. That's why you see results, and we'll get into that. So just going back to your clinic, so your clinic is very focused on enhancing natural beauty rather than altering it. So that's something that it's one of your values, it's your ethos, it's just how you like to be as a practitioner and in your clinic. So how do you communicate this to your clients, and why is that important to you?
Do you know, I think that kind of happened quite organically. So a lot of my clients that were coming to me wanted a more natural look. So I was just practicing more natural techniques as a result of that, and became good at that, and was posting more of that sort of naturally. And then I thought, when I'm having discussions and consultations with my clients, the number one thing they say to me is that I don't want to look overdone. I don't want people for it to be obvious that I've had work
and they're
done.
booked in for $500,000, you're thinking you're not going to anyway. Anyway, that's another story.
I want really natural lips. Here's a picture. Oh yeah, really natural.
You're only about $4 million.
I think it happened quite organically. And I always say to clients, and they really do agree with me, is that the best aesthetics treatments are the ones where you see someone that you haven't seen for a good few months and they think, gosh, you look really well.
Yeah.
But they don't know why. And it wouldn't be like, oh, she's had loads of work done. And, you know, it's fine. If you do want a more unnatural look and you want it be obvious that you've had your lips done or whatever, that's fine. That's up to you. But yeah, just a lot of my clients didn't want that. I think also personally, like my style, I'm quite a natural person with my aesthetics treatments.
Yep.
I'm constantly jabbing needles into my face.
But you can't
This
tell.
isn't all natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think your vibe attracts your tribe, as you always say. So I think people see me and think, okay, well, she doesn't look overdone, and that's what I want. So I think I can trust her with my face.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened.
And I think the number one question you get asked by your clients is, what have you had done?
Yes, yeah.
And you go, well. And they're like, really? You've had all of that?
Yeah.
But like you say, it's important for you to do what's aligned with you. Some people want to do snatched jaws,
Yes.
chiseled cheeks, big Russian lips, you know, frozen looks. And that's cool. There's
Yeah.
nothing against that. But for you, it just felt really natural and aligned to you to go down
Yeah.
more of a tweakment
That's it.
than making big differences.
Yeah.
And would you say that your client base really reflects that and it continued to
Yeah.
reflect that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of the time my clients don't want anything that's actually too transformational. They do just want a tweak and they want to improve their self-esteem and self-confidence. And yeah, maybe a little bit of cheek filler is just going to help lift things ever so slightly that nobody else would notice. But when they look in the mirror every morning, they just feel great.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
I agree. Amazing. What do you think it is then that sets your business apart from other people in your area? Because no doubt, since you've opened, a load more have opened, and that just
Yeah.
is what it is in this industry. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if you're a confident person in your business. I think other people opening around you shouldn't really knock you too much, because when you
Yeah.
start to understand the abundant energy and that everyone's got their own lane and everybody's doing their own thing. Anyway, that's another fucking subject. But I'll get to the question, shall I? What do you think it is that sets your business apart from others in your area? And do you think that being authentic has made a difference to your client base?
Yeah, so I think just touching on the other aesthetics practitioners within my area, my stance on it was that, like you say, there's enough for everybody. There's no competition. There is no such thing as competition. I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. So whenever a new aesthetics practitioner popped up around me, I sent them a message and introduced myself and said, I'm here, I do this, I'm happy to support you. You know, if we've ever experienced an emergency situation like a vascular occlusion, just want you to know that I'm here to help you. And they always respond, that's so kind, thank you, same to you. So I've even got a group chat now with 5, I think, other practitioners within my area.
I love that.
We're constantly bigging each other up, asking for advice, and just making that community. So like Sophia Bailey said, Queen, it's collaboration over competition, isn't it? So that's a really big ethos of mine. And then what makes me different? I just think your USP is you, isn't it? And that's all it is. I think it's just people come to me for me, and people go to, I don't know, Sally down the road because for her.
Because it's Sally. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go into a little bit of the challenging side of things now, because we're real on this podcast, and we, as nice as this sounds so far, we know in life that there are challenges, and in business there are definitely challenges. What have been your top 3 biggest challenges or setbacks since quitting midwifery and starting your own business?
Number 1 for me is juggling being a business owner and a mum.
Yeah.
It's huge, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I do find, and this is being totally honest, that sometimes when I'm with my children and my ideas for my business are popping off, I feel so frustrated because I just want to be focusing on the business. And I love my kids dearly, obviously. And I love spending time with them. But that mum guilt then creeps in, because when I'm playing with them, I'm thinking, oh, I just want to be doing this.
No, I get that.
And it's frustrating. But I think it's important to be honest about that. Being a mum is hard. It's not all, lollipops and rainbows. So I think that's my biggest challenge. But I've learned to compartmentalise my time. So when I'm working, I honestly don't think about my kids.
Yeah.
And
Love that you said that.
Yeah, and people might think, oh my God, she never thinks about them. But I know they're in safe hands. They're in good childcare.
You're not left them to play in a car park or on the M1.
No, like my mother-in-law as well, she's incredible. So whenever they're with her, I just don't even think, about them.
Well, but you can trust that they're safe,
yes,
and that's cool.
Absolutely. So I'm so business focused when I'm at work, and then when I'm at home, I'm kids focused as much as I can be. Yeah. It is difficult. One of my top tips for that is turning your notifications off your phone, because as soon as you get a DM on Instagram and it pops up, you want to answer it.
Oh, I'm such an advocate for no notifications.
Yeah.
Another tip, whilst we're on the subject, is sometimes we cannot help it when our inspiring ideas and thoughts come to us. And if you're in a play area or you're with your kids and an inspiring idea pops up, you kind of want to take action on it right away because it's exciting in that moment. But what I would suggest to people to do is just send yourself an email. I send myself an email for things to remember because I've OCD in my inbox, and there's another podcast episode about that, so you can listen to it. But send myself an email just with a summary of what the thought was, and then once that's sent, I don't need to think about, will I remember it or whatever. When I'm in business mode, I can go, that thought come up. What do I think about that? Can I put some time in my diary to brainstorm on that? Because it's kind of like, if it comes and we don't do anything with it, it sticks around. If it comes into our mind and we go, send ourselves an email, we know the reminder's there, we can relax. So just a tip for in future, if you ever, it's a 30-second job, and then you can be back to mum mode. Yeah. But you're not then spending the next 30 minutes thinking, oh, what about this? You've kind of gone, that's for another day, and I'm not going to forget about it. So just absolutely. A tip. Sorry, so that was that. I'll let you get back to it.
So I'm just thinking of other challenges. I think opening my clinic, so it needed painting, redecorating, all of the money that I had made from my aesthetics, well, not all of it, because obviously I had to pay for bills, but I had saved most of it away to reinvest back into the business. So that's how I kind of had the money to have my own clinic. And so I would get up early before the boys went to school to paint it. I would also then, once the boys had gone to bed, go back and paint it. So it was a really challenging, I think it was 2 weeks I had to get it finished and open it, because I had clients booking in crossover from leaving the last place. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work and it was a huge challenge, and I was stood on a chair painting and the chair broke. I was fine.
You survived. Well, but at that moment, was you just like, I give up?
Yeah, I was like, painting is so not fun.
Oh, I hate it. Oh, it's not a task I enjoy.
But, the satisfaction when it's done and you just look at what you created, it's like, yeah, proud of it. So that was a big challenge, but a positive one. A third one, I think managing finances. Before joining the BGA, I wasn't very good with my finances. My husband has always been very good, and he's always been telling me things.
We don't listen sometimes when it's close to home, though, do we?
Yeah, I think you've got to discover it for yourself. So I think, really getting on top of my finances with my spreadsheets, my bookkeeping, that was all brand new to me. I had no experience of any of that. And it takes a little bit of time to get your head around, but once everything's set up, you're away then, aren't you? So I think the finances aspect.
I think a lot of people struggle with it, and it's normal, isn't it? Because when you was in your employed job, it was like, okay, I get this amount of money every single month, and this much of this money goes here, and this much of this money goes here, and what's left is for me to use for survival and just doing things. And then all of a sudden you get a bit of money on a Monday, and a bit of money on a Wednesday, and a bit of money on a Thursday. Big bill comes on Saturday, and then another bit of money comes on the next week, and then some money goes, and you need some stock. And it's like, people really struggle with that. And there's no surprise that people struggle with that. But being part of a business owner, for me, finance management is important. If we want to scale to 5, 10, 15K months, whatever it is that you want, even 1K months, you've got to get your shit together with your money. Because if people have got the business money coming into the personal bank account, and then the personal bills are coming out, and then they have more business money coming into the personal bank account, and then they go and buy some stock with it, and then at the end of the year they tell their accountant what they've done. The accountant goes, oh, you need to pay X amount of money in tax, and they're like, well, I haven't got that money anymore. Well, because you've spent it, because you've not managed it and tracked it. So I think in one of the modules in the Beauty Growth Academy, what Beth's referring to is there's a finance management module, and I just teach the basics. Here's a spreadsheet.
So you need, though.
Yeah, it really is, because once you've got the basics, you can then build on it. Like, I'm sure at your stage now, you're learning more about VAT management and HMRC and tax bills and corporations and all those things, and they'll come as they come. But initially, it's like, okay, what's coming in, what's going out? How can I separate it? How can I become more responsible with my finances? Did you notice that when you got more control or more management over your finances, that you welcome more money in?
Yeah, so I think In fact, at the Beauty Boss retreat, this was one of my turning points, I think. At that point, I was averaging about 8K months. And I was a bit stuck. I just couldn't push past that.
Yeah.
And I discovered at that retreat that I had a lot of money blocks. So, you know, I didn't come from a wealthy background or anything like that. Whenever we'd had money, it would go. So money for me was a bit of a scary thing.
Yeah,
like
uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, yeah. Having no money was uncomfortable. Having lots of money was uncomfortable. So I had to really push past that and work on my self-worth of being worthy of abundance and managing the money to attract more money. Because if you're just constantly, you know, spending and not respecting your money, then the universe isn't going to provide you with any more. Equally, if you're storing all your money away and not investing in everything,
you don't dare spend anything,
then you're in a state of lack, so you're not going to attract anything. So it's getting that balance right. And then after I really sort of did a lot of work on my money mindset, that's when everything
started to go up again.
Yeah.
And the thing is whichever level you get to, you'll always have some form of block. There'll be some form of limiting belief. And even for me now, I know that there's blocks I still need to work through. When you go from having like 1K a month income to even 100K a month income, it doesn't mean when you're at 100K, that's it, everything's done and it's fine. You still have blocks. You still have things like, oh God, is that possible for me? And there's always money work to be done. So somebody might be listening to this now and thinking, well, what does money mindset work mean? Like, what was you doing? What are a couple of things that you would do to help you? Would it be like reading or?
Yeah, reading. There's Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. Amazing. The audiobook, I listened to the audiobook actually when I was walking the dog. Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember the author of that one.
Oh my God, T. Harv Eker. I recommended it in the Beauty Growth Academy. Didn't know that was a good one for me. Really, about 30 bloody quid on Amazon, but it's worth it.
Yeah, again, I think I listened to the audio and it was just epiphany moments.
Yeah.
Listening to those books.
The thermostat thing. It was that for me. I was like, oh my God, I do have a financial thermostat.
Yeah.
I don't really go above it. And if I go below it, I bring it back and that's my thermostat.
Yeah.
Okay, now I need to envision my thermostat increasing to this amount. And sorry, I'm interrupting again.
No, you're not at all. Yeah, so I just think reading, listening, podcasts, I think it's just surrounding yourself with other people who are in the same environment as you, who are earning a good amount of money, makes you feel more like it's a normal situation. And I think that's another turning point of the beauty growth, the Beauty Boss retreat.
Yes.
Was I was surrounded by other badass women.
Yeah, they were badass women.
Yeah, who were achieving incredible things. And I suddenly felt not alone and that this was normal and I love this. So I think surrounding yourself with like-minded people is huge for your money mindset. But just read all the books.
Do the work.
Do the work.
Okay. So then what have been your top 3 wins or successes?
My mental health and my mindset.
Love that.
I feel like I'm a completely different person in all the good ways. And I don't know whether it's because I'm a different person or I just feel so authentically me now. Like there's no...
Like it's safe to be you.
Yeah, there's no outside noise. There's no external expectations from anyone. I'm just in my bubble doing my thing, being me, and that's really freeing. So I think that self-work has been my biggest success for sure. Being able to buy my house. Obviously with help from my husband we bought it together, but with my midwifery wage that would never ever have happened. I also took him to the Maldives. To say thank you for everything he's done and all of his support.
You're his sugar daddy now.
So that was a pinch me moment lying on that beach. Cheers myself a few times.
Good.
That's my third one. I think opening the clinic. Because I look around all the time and I'm just so grateful for it, and I really do feel like it's my little haven. When I walk in there and I shut the door, I just instantly relax. I love it there.
Completely different to the times when you was in the hospital.
Yes, God, and I'd be dreading walking through the door.
Do you do any hospital work now?
My last shift I did was in August.
Oh wow, and we're in end of January now as we're recording this. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of just naturally happened. I had a lot of blocks, I guess, around that and feeling like I'd worked really hard and I'm just letting it go, and it's taken me quite a long time to come to terms with leaving it behind, but I feel really at peace with that now. And for me to do a shift at the hospital, it would mean swapping that for one of my clinic days because of childcare. I earn a lot more money from one of my clinic days, and it's a lot less stress.
Yeah,
and I
it's
love
more
it.
satisfying.
Yeah, so there's really no incentive for me to go back and do a shift.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm finally at peace now.
Do you or your team want to train in a new and popular beauty treatment for as little as £99? Whether it's lashes, brows or facials, adding a new service can mean more clients and more money. With Beginner Beauty Courses UK, you can train for as little as £99 all from the comfort of your own home. Get instant access to their online accredited courses and train in treatments like lash lift and tint, classic lash extensions, beginner facials, massage, Russian lash extensions, and more. You'll get full support from your tutor, private WhatsApp chats, and lifetime access to easy to follow tutorials that you can rewatch over and over again. Click on the link in the show notes and train in a brand new in-demand beauty treatment today.
So you recently did a rebrand for your business.
Yes.
I loved watching every part of that. So how important do you think branding is? And do you feel like this rebrand has had a direct impact on your business growth and on your business in general?
I think so. I think branding is huge. What I felt my new branding did was take me from a small business to a professional business.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds a bit strange, but I think it made me step into the higher version of myself.
I love that.
Yeah, because I was experiencing that photo shoot thinking like, oh my God, look at me.
I've got mine booked in for Monday, you know.
I know, she
I'm not
told me.
I'm not gonna share exactly who it is yet because we've had conversations and I've said like, look, I want to experience it for myself.
Yeah.
I've already seen what you've done for a
amazing.
couple of my members and I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna experience it myself and then we'll get her on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because she looks incredible. I'm so excited.
She deserves it.
Yeah.
I've
I
done her
agree.
face as well. So
Oh, have you really? Oh,
when
there
you
we
see her,
go.
check that out.
I'm like tag. So you had like your photo shoot. What was your vision for this photo shoot?
I wanted it to encompass the sort of natural, organic side of aesthetics and a little bit of my spirituality in there as well. So I didn't really want to go for anything too loud and in your face because that's just not me. So all the colours were quite muted and organic and soft. And yeah, I just wanted my personality to come across. So I'm not really, the badass boss bitch wearing the suit, looking all mean.
Yeah, which is exactly what I'm going for on Monday.
I bet you are, because that's you,
that's
and
my
that's
personality.
fab.
Exactly. So you wanted more of a gentle, softer approach, but
Yes.
I am professional. I have worked my ass off to get to where I am.
Yeah.
And I'm in business, but in a way that represented you.
Yeah.
And do you feel like she got that?
100%.
No, I feel like she got that for
I
you
actually
too.
felt really emotional when she sent through the photos and the whole branding with the fonts, everything, the logo. I felt really emotional because it was as if she had stepped into my mind, plucked out exactly what I had and just put it on the paper.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I just really felt like that's when Drew Aesthetics was really born.
Yes, I get that.
Yeah.
It was like your toddler went to a full-blown adult,
That's
like
it. Yeah.
matured. Yeah. I love that. And did you get good feedback from your clients?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all loved it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I've watched your journey for how many years now?
I think it's nearly 2.
Yeah, it's been a couple, and because you're so active as well, I see so much. But watching your journey evolve, then all of a sudden, like Beth Drew, she's got this going. Loving your branding, it's just been so nice to watch. But it's not. It's happened from your hard work, your dedication, your commitment to not just becoming the best version of you, but to serving the people who you want to serve in the best way you can.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference when you're not just in it to earn the money. You're not just in it to go to the Maldives, although they're great things to happen, but you don't wake up and think, oh, how much money can I earn today? You wake up and think, how can I honour my brand? How can I bring value to my clients? How can I work authentically? How can I add value? And I think that when you work from that place, it's so liberating and it's so obvious.
I think as well, I genuinely love doing the treatments.
Yes.
And I always say to my clients, like, I'm in the zone when I'm injecting. I've got music playing. I'm, really in the flow. And they laugh at me sometimes and I'm like, I honestly feel like it's art. Yeah. And I might think, right, I'm done. And then I go to take a photo and I just see one little thing.
And you're like,
And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm just going to have to put a little bit more there. And they're like, no, it's fine. And it's like, if you were painting a painting and you saw a little bit that you'd missed, you couldn't just leave it, could you?
No.
So for me, it's seeing the results of what I'm achieving, getting better at them. That's what really gives me a kick as well.
I think Sophia Bailey said as well, didn't she, in the episode that we did together, the aesthetic eye is something that people have or they don't have. And it's very obvious the way you're talking that you have that aesthetic eye, you can see it, you're in the flow, you enjoy it. And I think that is important. So let's just go to social media a little bit. I know I've had you for a long time, but I'm milking every moment. So am I. I'm sure the listeners are too, and the watchers on YouTube. By the way, you can watch this on YouTube if you're listening to it. And you can watch it on Spotify as well. I don't know what the crack is anymore, but my team are great, so just you can actually watch this interview. Weird times. So how has social media impacted your business, and how do you manage it all? Do you do your own social media account?
Well, so I think social media is massive.
Yes, I agree.
It's free marketing at the end of the day, so I think it needs to be utilised. Everyone is on social media. Gone are the times where you'd have to pay to put an advert in the paper and hope that someone reads it. So yeah, social media is massive. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication. So about almost a year ago now, I think it was just around the time of the retreat, I hired a social media manager, and I've had two. So the first one wasn't that great.
I've heard a lot of stories, and I've hired as well. My experience wasn't a positive one, and I've had a couple, and I get mixed reviews, but I'm guessing your second one was a better experience. So tell us about it.
Absolutely. So
in fact, before we go into that one, why was your first one not a great experience?
So the first one, there was no strategy behind it. Okay. It was just I would send photos that I'd taken, they would edit them and upload them. And then that was about as far as it went. Yeah, which I can do that myself. It was just saving myself time rather than growing the business. And it just didn't feel right. So I then reached out to another social media manager who another aesthetics practitioner I know she uses. And hit it off straight away. With her, it's all about strategy. So we have a meeting once a month where we talk about my goals for that month. Then she strategizes the content. Wow. So with the Asana app, we've got a shared Asana account. Yep. So she will write everything that's going to be posted every day for that month. And then it's my job to then go away and film it and upload it onto a Google Drive.
Okay.
Then she'll post it.
Tell her to hit me up. We could have a chat.
Yeah, she is great. She's really good. And she just knows me. So when we first started, the way that because she's from Liverpool and I'm from Herefordshire. So we speak very differently naturally. So when she first started posting for me, it was difficult to let go because I felt like it didn't really sound like me. Okay. My social media was my baby, as you know, and it's hard to let go of those reins. But now she'll write a caption and it's just as if I've said it. It's me. Yeah. I'm still not quite able to let go the editing part.
But I think that's because you're creative.
Yeah, and a perfectionist. Yeah.
And that works in so many ways, and it's your brand.
Yeah.
But you do think that giving someone the majority of the work has helped free you up in other areas.
So much. And when it comes to juggling the kids as well, that's one of the biggest things it's helped me with, because I will be cooking dinner and all of a sudden a notification will pop up and I'll think, oh, what have I posted? Yeah. Something's getting liked. Yeah. Let's have a look. And I'm like, oh yeah, great. I remember filming that a few weeks ago. So it's kind of the background work is being done for me. You know, I still got to work hard. I still got to film the content, make time to film the content, come up with the ideas with my social media manager. But yeah, I just think that was one of the best things that I've done to enable the growth, for sure.
And you're also following a strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that one's really good. Like I say, I have mixture of people, and some people are like, God, I paid £1,000 that month and all they did was repost content that I put on before. And I was like, I had a similar experience. So that's not the one. But okay, amazing. So just on to the last couple of questions. So last one of the last questions. How do you balance growing business with being a mum and being a wife? Do you find that there are times where you really do just find it tough, or you have mum guilt? I know we've spoken about this briefly, but you're balancing being a wife, being a mum, being a business owner, trying to have romantic time or connection time with your husband, and then mummy time and family time with the kids. Do you plan things in advance to monitor this? Or
it's being organised, I think, is the key. So we have a whiteboard in our kitchen, and me and my husband write.
I have a 6-foot whiteboard in my kitchen.
Wow.
It's wild.
But yeah, we write down on there every month what our plans are. So say
that.
Beth away for the night for this, for example, Beth home, and Jack will write Jack away, Jack home, dentist for the boys. Everything is on there. So when I'm making a cup of tea, I'm reminded of everything that's needed to be done. And I think me and Jack, we had a bit of a clash over organisation at one point because we weren't communicating everything as well as we could be. So I'd be like, oh, well, I've got to do this thing. And he's like, well, you didn't tell me about it. So that's our way to make sure that the communication is just on point. In terms of juggling, romantic time, I think your marriage, it does take a little bit of a backseat.
Yeah.
But I think that shows how strong it is.
Yes.
And we've been together since we were 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you look about 20,
30.
so it's only 5 years. No, I'm joking.
Thank you. It's all the Botox. But yeah, we've been together like half our life now.
Yeah.
So we've learned how to communicate with each other down to a T. So if one of us is feeling a bit neglected, if he thinks I'm putting my business first and he's feeling a bit neglected, we just sit down and have a chat about it.
Nip it in the bud.
Yeah, nip it in the bud. Right, let's book a date night for then. Let's reconnect. In terms of the kids, I think that's always going to be a challenge, to be honest, because they are so dependent on me at the moment. They're only 5 and 2.
They're babies, aren't
Yeah,
they? 2 boys,
yeah.
while they're fighting all the time.
They're not play fighting, they're actually fighting.
Yeah, no, my nephews, when I go to Tara's house, my nephews they're just fighting now.
Yeah.
They just fight. I'm like, I'm so glad I wasn't a boy, Mum.
Yeah, it's intense. I love them dearly, but their energy levels are unmatched.
Wild for boys.
Yeah.
Jumping off like sofas and just like, look at me, I'm Spider-Man. And you're like,
Yeah.
you're going to literally break a bone.
Yeah, my friends laugh because a lot of my friends haven't had children yet, or they're just starting to. And they'll come around for a cup of tea and I'll be trying to have a conversation. I've got one jumping on my head, one pulling me here. And they're like, you're just so calm. You just carry on talking.
Yeah, I've given up. That's what it is. I've just given up. I've surrendered.
So I think that will always be a challenge. I think it will get easier the older that they get and the more time that I have for myself to work on self-care. That takes a back burner. I know that I'm really into my self-help and my self-care, but it's making time for that. So I've just started running again.
Oh, good.
And I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah.
I keep saying I just need to get my trainers on and get my ass out. Been busy the last couple of weeks, so I will be doing it soon.
Yeah. And it's just finding moments of time for yourself. It's not easy. There's owning your own business, you're wearing a lot of hats, you're spinning a lot of plates. Sometimes it is overwhelming and you just think, okay, what do I need to do to make myself feel better? And I always go back to just getting back into alignment. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed with the kids, the house, the dog, everything, then just put everything down, go for a run, do some yoga, just get back into alignment, and then everything feels so much easier again.
I feel like I did my job well there. Everyone's like, well, I'm so bored. Alignment. I'm so bored. What do I do?
Alignment.
I'm stressed. What do I do? Alignment.
Motivation Monday. Alignment.
Alignment. I'm literally going to have alignment on my gravestone, aren't I? So tell me about some of your future goals and plans. So I've noticed online you're doing some like little bits to help the industry as well, kind of like a blueprint for helping people get some clients, and you've started your own podcast.
Yes,
tell us about that.
So the podcast really is a bit of like a passion project. It's not really too related to the business. I think, as we know, spirituality has been such a huge part of my journey, and I have learned so much along the way, and I just feel like I really want to share that with other people. Yeah. And I kind of dabbled a little bit on my Aesthetics page by posting stories a bit about spirituality, but it just hasn't really felt like the right space.
Yeah, the right audience kind of thing.
Yeah. And I just want to keep that for aesthetics,
yes,
because if you just spread yourself too thin, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it causes confusion as well. I always say if you've got a different audience for a different product, create a different page for it.
Exactly, yeah. So the podcast is called Her Sacred Hustle.
Her Sacred Hustle, I love that.
Because it's all about womanhood, her, spirituality, sacred, and business. So hustle.
Love that.
And it's all about the powerful connection between being a woman, a business owner, and trying to keep your spirituality going amongst all of that as well. So yeah, I've just started. Episode 1 is out. I actually recorded episode 2 last night in my hotel room.
Oh God.
Making the most of every free minute I have. So yeah, I'm just really excited. It just feels, again, really authentic, and I'm just not putting too much pressure on myself. If it falls on the right ears, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't matter.
That's fine. It's no biggie.
Yeah.
I love how free you are and how open you are to going with the flow.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such an important thing, because with you, Beth, I don't see you getting yourself flustered or in resistance or should I overthinking things. You're kind of like a free spirit. And
I don't think my husband would agree.
well, you don't listen to them husbands. What do they know? But you do, and there's times where you're not going to, but you do take things in your stride, and you're open and you're willing, and you're not scared of spending time on something and it not working out. You are quite open to the fact that you might do something, you might not like it, and that's cool. You don't care if something takes you a bit of time and it doesn't pay off. You'll learn something from it, and I think that approach.
If you don't try.
Exactly, that approach helps. So, where can we find your podcast, and where can we find out more about you? We will link everything in the show notes. So
so it's Her Sacred Hustle at Her Sacred Hustle on Instagram, and just Her Sacred Hustle on Spotify. My aesthetics Instagram page is at drew.aesthetics_. I'm also releasing some lips masterclasses soon as well. So I've just filmed those. I'm in the middle of editing them. So
and this will be for the natural, subtle, soft enhancement. So for anyone that's like, oh, I really want to learn more about that, you're going to release some stuff to help.
And that's all online. So there's one for natural lips and one for the M-shaped lip, because they're two things that I think people struggle with. So that's on its way. But that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Are you going to have some sort of email list people can like subscribe to get notifications on stuff?
Yeah.
You are now.
Well, thanks to my social media manager, there's a strategy.
Exactly. So
I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
But you can join the wait list by just DMing me, and then you're on the wait list then for when it comes out. So you get first dibs, and the first 10 people get the first one full price and the second one half price.
Amazing.
Plus my my business growth, my toolkit for business growth for free.
Oh,
so some incentives there as well.
There we go. I love that. So if you've enjoyed this podcast and you feel really aligned with Beth, go check her out. Go check her out anyway. So we will link all of your social media and everything that you've got going off in the show notes so people can listen to it. Beth, I am not surprised to say that I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this podcast episode. Loved it. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for spending the night at a hotel last night, taking time out of your day to inspire and educate other people in the industry, because this episode will have helped and touched so many people. Please DM, I'm sorry to say it, you don't mind, do you?
No.
Please DM Beth, let her know what you enjoyed about this episode, let her know what made a difference for you, what advice you found the most powerful. Get in contact with her. She's very open and willing to help. So the DMs are open.
Always.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.